Good afternoon, guys. I hope this thing's recording. But anyway, good afternoon. Oh, I see it down there now. But anyway, yeah, Beer 30, Sanity session. The bar is open. The light is on. We're in business. It's like the open sign at a bar. But anyway, here's to you. Here's to me. Skull, cheers, prost. Mm-hmm. Muy bueno, muy bueno. But anyway, live and in color from Capitan, New Mexico, on a beautiful day. Inside temperature shows to be about 77 degrees. I got a little fan on. Nice. Humidity zero. I don't know. It's low. But anyway, so yeah, chill out, relax, have a toddy or whatever you're into, and enjoy this. We're going to go over a few things people have requested I talk about. Get to it in a minute. But anyway, yeah, Friday evening, beer 30, sanity session. Take a deep breath. Breathe out, relax, chill out. That's what it's all about, guys. My videos are softball videos. We're not going to make anything complicated here for sure because I want you to be de-stressed. You know what I mean? So, I got a comment or I got a request to talk about some of the most miserable moments camping in my RV. And that comes from the Wandering Kentuckian. And so I remembered two events that I'll cover. One was in near Carlsbad, New Mexico, about 4 years ago. I was in my casita at that time, towing it with my Ram pickup. And there's on the as you come in from Texas into Carlsbad from Guadalupe mountains or whatever, there's a Bureau of Land Management campground about, I don't know, 8 miles out of town on the left hand side as you're going towards Carlsbad. Not a bad place. And it's not too, it's 3 or 4 miles off the main road there, and then you turn right, go down a good dirt road. Enough said about that. Anyway, found me a spot. Wind was blowing. It was gusting a little bit. And so I got inside the RV and checked the weather, and it was predicting some really high winds. And the gusts at the time I was checking it were like 30, 35 miles an hour, which is pretty good. So, but where I had pulled up, I was sideways to the wind. That's not good. And but anyway, so I pulled around so that I was facing into the wind like a good sailor, or a guy in a boat. And but it was still the RV was moving. You know what I mean? And later that evening, and it went on all night into early the next morning. And so yeah, it was like boom, 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 all night long. And it wouldn't, it would stop, and then it would gust. You know what I mean? And you really couldn't get a good night's sleep in that environment. So, but what I did a video. I had a gallon jug with about a half full of water. I put it on the table, and did a video so you could see the water sloshing back and forth in the gallon jug to get an idea of what was going on because you couldn't even go outside. Outside was totally out, T-O-T-O, you know what I mean? And so that was that one. I mean, of course, I didn't get much sleep that night. I woke up the next morning. I wasn't fully rested, but, the winds were gone. So that was one miserable event. And so you guys out there in RVs, those things can happen. Like we've just had some pretty good winds in the central part of New Mexico today. And it's not blowing much here, but around Alamogordo and Tularosa and in there, I understand they're getting some pretty good winds. I'm not sure. But anyway, and then the other time that was very concerning actually was I was near Alpine, Texas in my Kit Sportsman that I had gotten from the owner of a little golf course that I worked at for a couple of years. The owner was a gambler, and I basically ran it for him while he went gambling. Anyway, he felt like he owed me something, but he really didn't. And so he had won a Kit Sportsman travel, or he took it as payment in a gambling event, and he was going to live in it, but he decided it was too small for him. So the last day he was there, he pulled up there with that trailer and gave me the title and said, "You can have it, man." He said, "Hell, I can't live in this." Anyway, and I said, "Well, how much owe you?" He said, "Nothing, man." He said, "You're good. You've done enough." Anyway, enough said. He left. And he was a hell of a guy, But so I was in that kit Sportsman. I'm in Alpine on the way to Big Bend, La Vista, and beautiful days. Well, it was cloudy, but they had predicted thunderstorms. Well, thunderstorms in West Texas can be thunderstorms. They can bring big hail, particularly in May, and this was in May. And so there I was, and I was in the RV, and I thought, well, I'll go do my washing because they had a laundromat about, I don't know, 30 yards from my RV. So I'm about midway to the laundry room, carrying my laundry, and I hear a boom, like I don't know what it was. So I looked around, and there were hailstones about the size of softballs hitting the ground, but fortunately they were about 10 yards apart. But, boom, they were hitting around, and they were starting to get more and more. Anyway, so I run back to the RV and got inside. And yeah, the RV took a beating. It took a hail of a beating. But I got to take a drink here. My mouth's getting dry. Here's to you. Mm. And you got to remember, this is the cheapest travel trailer they made at that time. Kit, KIT, Sportsman. Crap. Anyway, so I get inside the RV, and boy, I could hear it. It was really loud. But the good thing about hailstorms, they usually don't last very long, and so they just kind of within 10 or 15 minutes gone. I mean, it may seem like days, but they go by pretty quick. So I was inside the RV, and some of the hailstones actually penetrated the roof through the plywood and everything and hit on the floor of the RV. I had four holes that came all the way through. And the first one that came through, I thought, oh shit, So I got under the mattress in the bed area, and I was on the phone with Geico saying, "You hear that?" Enough said about that. I did file a claim, right? I filed a claim during the hailstorm, all right? And luckily I did because they had hundreds of claims and I happened to be one of the first, so I got taken care of right away. But enough said. But it put 22 holes in the roof. Not all of them came all the way through. Only four came all the way through and hit on the floor. I kept two of the stones, the hailstones, in the refrigerator to show the adjuster, but it didn't matter. The front window was broken out and some other windows were cracked and stuff. And so he came, he just glanced, he looked out up on the roof and just, he said, hell, he said, I'll total it, it's gone. And they did. And so, I don't know, a few days later, I got a check in the mail in Alpine for $4,500, which was like finding money. And then what I did to repair the roof, some of you may be familiar with that old black mastic stuff. Well, that's all I could find in Alpine to patch roofs with, and which is fine. I didn't care what it looked like. I'm not into the cosmetics. I just wanted it to be functional. You know what I mean? Like keep the water out, and and it did. So yeah, I got some of that and those little flat things. And I just went up, got up on the roof, and plugged up every hole and around the front window. I did that, not with the black mastic. I used some silicone stuff on it, so because it's clear. But yeah, I didn't care what it looked like. But yeah, so that did fix the leaks, and I kept that RV for another couple of years, and it never did leak. It looked like crap, but I don't care about that. But anyway, so those were two times that were really miserable in my RVing career. There may have been others, I don't remember any that bad though. But anyway, so that answers that question, I think. So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, that was Wandering Kentucky, and thank you, and thank all you guys that send me ideas for Beer 30 because boy, I'm reaching here. There's ideas in here, but they're buried under a lot of 77 years of debris. You know what I mean? So here's to you. Here's to me. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Anyway, moving along to the next one here. Uh, yeah, yeah, because we were just talking about Alpine and on the way to Big Bend. This will kind of go along with that. This comes from uh, uh, RV living with the geezer, and yeah, he left a couple, I think. But this is basically he wanted to find out the who, what, why, how, etc. of living on the Terlingua Ranch out in West Texas. And I've probably talked about that before too, but I'll go over a little, just some of the general stuff. But his first question was, what made me or what prompted me to go to Big Bend in the first place. or to the Terlingua Ranch? And the answer is, well, I just, I'd come back from the Peace Corps, and I was, I really didn't want to go back to being a CPA or an accountant and all that stuff. So I didn't know. I had a little money saved, and I thought, well, hell, I'll just go out there and live in the desert, and see what happens. So I bought me a used RV, a really junker, and hauled it out there and parked it. And of course, then he asked about water, food, and etc. But yeah, I just basically, well, I bought some property, and then I just pulled it up. I bought Before I bought the property, I was living in the RV in the little ghost town area of Terlingua, and I was working part time at Lajitas as an uh, income auditor. Okay, which is fine. It was only part time, and it was like 17 miles to uh, Lajitas to go to work in the mornings, and then I got to looking at the Terlingua Ranch, and I found a place that was about 3,400 feet in elevation, which is a lot cooler than the ghost town of Terlingua. That makes a lot of difference. So I found 40 acres, and back then, it was like $100 an acre. It was really cheap, you know, and so I bought 40 acres and a mule. No, I didn't. And yeah, and what I did was I drove out there in my pickup one day and cleared the road, so to speak, just with a uh, uh, axe, so to speak. Got all the stuff out of the road, and where I could pull in and park, and then I could do the rest later, and that's what I did. But as far as I didn't have any solar. Solar was pretty expensive then, and it really wouldn't do much anyway. As far as power, I didn't have any power at all at first. Later on, I got me a two. I think it was might have been a 2000i Honda generator, but that was after a year or so. As far as water, I hauled it, and as far as refrigeration, I used an ice chest. I had to get water every 4 days, but that worked out pretty good because it was like 50 miles to Alpine, Texas, to the grocery stores and all the stuff. And gasoline back then wasn't too pricey, even though my pickup didn't probably got about 14, maybe. But yeah, so I'd go to Alpine and get ice and stuff, and then fill up my water jugs and come back and be good for another few days. And as far as cooking, I had a propane stove, which 3 burner, had an oven, no problem with that. And yeah, and then I could fill up the propane thing in Alpine. But I had two of those big tanks, the 20 gallon or whatever they call them, or not 20 gallon, but the big tanks. Anyway, and so that was how that worked. Let me see if you had anything else here. But as far as the who, what, where, when, why, as far as pooping and stuff, I just poop I just pooped out. I just dig a hole, with a shovel, and poop in the ground and cover it up like a cat, and then just pee on the ground or pee in a jug. I wasn't worried about any of that crap. And so that wasn't a problem at all. Eating nothing, water, no issues there. Because you could go to Tolingo Ranch and get non-potable water by 5 gallon containers or 10 gallon, whatever you had. And so I would go over there because it was free for the non-potable, and they charged you a nickel a gallon for water that you could drink. Even though I didn't drink it, I would bring it. I would get the 5 cent a gallon stuff and put it in the uh, beside the RV, and then just pour out containers to take showers with as I needed it, or pump. I think I had, oh I did. I had a little pump. I'm sorry. I'd pump it into gallon jugs and then use those to pour into a 1 gallon container and heat it on the stove for taking showers. It wasn't that bad. It was better than where I was. I'd been in the Peace Corps, Mongolia, much better actually. But having said that, what else? He asked about characters in the ghost town of Terlingua. There is a ghost town there. They call it a ghost town, but it's called Terlingua. And as you come down 118, uh, going towards Big Bend, the first stop you come to is called Studi Butte. And there's a gas station and a hotel and stuff there. But if you turn right, I don't know what highway it is, 17 or something, 71 or something, turn right like you're going to Lajitas, you just go a few miles, and on the right hand side is a little ghost town area called Terlingua. And there's a bar restaurant deal there. I don't remember the name of it. And then there's also a store there you can shop, and they sell beer. And it's got a little covered patio in the front, and people sit out there every afternoon and swap lies. And there's always, the old philosopher type hanging out there. And yeah, there were some characters there. There were a lot of artist types and hippie types and musicians and stuff. And yeah, they're all pretty well. They're gone. They're not gone, but they're moving there. Here you go. Here's to you. Here's to me. I went there a few times and listened to some of the conversations. I didn't participate because I really didn't have anything to add. I'm not into spaceships and conspiracy theories and all that crap. So I pretty much hung out by myself. But yeah, that was the Terlingua Ranch deal, and yeah, I think we'll end it about right here. But let me see if I can think of anything else in general. Uh, well, let's see. It's been an interesting week for me in that I've as you saw the video today about permits, some of you, then you know that I've had a kind of hit a bump in the road on getting the RV cover installed here in Capitan, New Mexico. And it's not because of the city. They don't require any permits at all. It's because the county requires some permits I was unaware of. Nobody told me about that. And the state of New Mexico requires a permit. But you got to get the state permit, you got to have the county permit first, okay? But the county permit is two parts. They do I don't know, you got to do a drawing, and then they send it to somewhere else, something to do with floodplain and shit, and then it comes back. But there's no fee. I mean, they don't really require a permit either. It's just that you have to get this paperwork to get the state permit, which is done by the people that are going to build or install and erect the RV cover. Okay, so that was a little stress, not stress. I allowed it to get in my head a little bit because the reason I did the RV cover was when I found out from the city that there were no permits required, or the village of Capitan, no permits required. Then I thought, well, hell, let's go, Rusty. For some reason, I had it in my mind that I'd have to get all these permits and do all this crap, go before the planning commission. I just didn't want to jack with all that. Well, ended up I had to jack with it anyway. But it's not the same. But be that as it may. So that was a little deal. And then I picked up a new hobby. I won't get into it in detail, but I'll just mention. I used to be a stockbroker years ago, and I still watch the market just out of the fun because it's really a game, guys, and you don't want to get in it unless you know what the hell you're doing, because they'll milk you like a cow. And even me, they'll nail me. They got real tricks. They call it pump and dump. They got other things. They got they call it a dead cat bounce. They got all kind of tricks to get you in. And but I was watching some of the banking stocks, and I won't mention the name, but I did buy one that was way down. But it was a good company. And so I thought, well, hell, shit, this is a screaming buy. And so I did that, but I didn't go in deep. You know what I mean? I didn't go in with much. I went out with a nickel or dime, whatever you want to call it. Well, if you understand nickels and dimes, I went in with 5 dimes, okay, and that was it. And but yeah, that's the way they talk in gambling. Nickels and dimes. And but be that as it may, what else is going on? Beer's cold. I feel good. I'm sane so far. Here's to you. Here's to me. Why am I drinking this? Somebody brought it to me. You think I'm going to waste it? But it's got a cap. It's got the little cap. But anyway, guys, enjoy your weekend. Try to stay sane. And the light's on, guys. Enjoy your day. I didn't forget. I didn't forget. I didn't forget. I turned it on at noon. I'll probably leave it on. It's kind of cute, isn't it? But anyway, whoever sent that, thank you very much. But anyway, guys, Friday night, beer 30, Sanity session. Thumbs up. Carpe diem means seize the day in Latin. Carpe diem, adios, bye-bye. Buy anything you want. Use the Amazon link if you want to jack with it. Drink plenty of water or whatever you choose. And enjoy your weekend. Relax. Take a deep breath again. Yeah, you can't hardly do that too much. That lowers stress and all kinds of stuff, So, yeah. But again, got a weekend coming up. On and on we go. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your ideas and all that stuff. So we got enough for next week. We'll see what happens. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.